Hey y'all, it's Monday, so welcome to a new episode of Race Kiki with Jonathan Lee. I'm your host, Jonathan Lee. How are you? Hope this week is going to be amazing for you because you deserve it. Now, this week's episode is with Briceson DuCharme of Apocalyptic Cosmetics. Briceson has also been a beautiful, stunning, amazing, vivacious drag talent by the name of Ginger Douglas for X number of years. Drag queens never age. I'll just say X number of years. Now, I wanted to talk to Briceson because of his history with the makeup brush. He's one of the most talented makeup artists I have ever had the pleasure of working with. Um, he had some really beautiful insights about the industry as an insider and his hope for the future of makeup. It's amazing, so drink it up and stick to the end so you can find out how to follow him. Like and subscribe and be amazing this week because, again, remember, you deserve it. Well, hey, Ginger. I'm sorry. Hi,
Hi.
Briceson DuCharme, Buck
Hello.
DuCharme, Ginger Sexton, Ginger Douglas, Ginger
I'm like,
Apocalyptic Cosmetics.
I'm like, hello, Jonathan Lee. I'm so excited to be here. You call me whatever you want. I'm going to answer to all of them. So
Welcome to Race Kiki.
thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. Um, I've been shopping these conversations around and I kind of wanted to talk to you because, well, before we get starting in the thick of it, I'll ask you my starter question. When
Sure.
did you learn about race?
That's probably something that was never really taught, to be honest with you. I think, if I can remember correctly, I honestly didn't even meet a in life living Black person until I was in the third or fourth grade when we went to Denver on a field trip. I grew up in a very small community, and like the only three races that were probably there were white people. Obviously, it was a farm town. We had immigrant workers that worked the farms, and then we had one Asian family, which happened to be our doctor. And that was as far as the extent of race of what I saw. So, truthfully saying, I only saw ever a Black person on TV at first. And so like I remember, I mean, I can still give you the whole entire rundown of the first time I ever saw this beautiful Black woman at the zoo, and she was taking tickets, and I stopped and stared, and I was like enthralled by her. And I was just like, I mean, I'm sure, she probably took it as a way that I was like staring at her rudely, but I was like mesmerized. And, she was like, why are you looking at me? And I was like, I literally have never seen you in person. I've only seen you on TV before. And I didn't, obviously looking back on it now, that's totally rude and like uncalled for, but I honestly didn't know of anybody that was Black. And it was, I mean, I was like just floored. She was gorgeous. She was beautiful. And like, like I said, I wasn't taught any of that. I would like didn't know how to like properly approach that situation, and I feel bad now looking back on it because I could have said completely different things, but
Well, you were
also
a
just,
child.
yeah. And I was just excited to be like, oh my God, they're like, she's beautiful. She's gorgeous. These braids, like everything. I was just so in love with her. And, I think after that, it just expanded my mind into the world of like, whoa, there's so much out there that's not just me and my family and everything else. And I think after that, it was definitely a time for me to start learning things, even though they weren't readily available or handed in the community that I was in.
When did you get to Denver?
I didn't leave. So I was 17 when I left, or forced to leave home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Where did you grow up?
A very small town called Eaton, Colorado. So like my grandmother was an onion farmer in Alt, which was also very small next to that. There was like Pierce, Nunn. There, I mean, it's a very small like farming community. My whole entire family were farmers of different nature.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Can
And
you imagine me on a farm, girl?
no, I cannot. So I'm guessing the minute your fruity ass came around, it was a little uncomfortable there on the farm.
Yeah, I was always made fun of. I always got beat up by like, I think everybody else knew before I did, which I think is always the case when it comes to your own coming out story or, you know, whatever. But I definitely was always the odd man out, if you will. And I tried very hard to fit in with all of my cousins who like to blow up things or do whatever. But most times you would see me in my cousin's room playing with her Barbies and her, because she had the Barbie house back in the day that had the twist up like elevator that took Barbie to the top floor. And I was like, oh yeah, honey, I am Skipper, girl. Like this is, you know. So yeah, I mean, I definitely was always not, I wouldn't say like not welcome, but it was definitely known that I was not normal.
And normal is a subjective word.
Well, I mean, to my redneck family, normal in their eyes.
So you get to Denver. Then what happens?
I was in culture shock because even like after I moved from Eaton, we moved to Fort Collins, which still there was like literally, I think one family, which was 2 Black kids in our school. So honestly, like still not very like cultural when it came to a lot of things. When I moved to Denver, I lived with my ex. We actually lived in Lakewood first, which is, you know, a suburb of Denver. Still very whitewashed, let's be real.
And then very whitewashed, yes.
Yes. So when he and I got our first apartment, it was off of Colfax and Marion. And I had to take the bus to go to school every day. And that was a whole, like a brand new society. It was definitely very like crazy. Like I guess not like a new society, but a new adventure for me, because I saw people of all walks of life, which I had never seen before. You know what I mean? Like that's when I was seeing like Indian people. I saw like Muslim people. I saw a lot of crackhead people. I mean, you know, there was people of all different avenues of life, I would say. And it was definitely something that you are not taught, especially in smaller little, you know, farm communities. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, especially, well, by this point in Denver, you're going to high school?
Yeah, I was a senior.
Okay, so you're going from a small country town, and then you go your senior year of high school. This is your first year as a senior, like new school, new senior?
So we moved to Fort Collins when I was in 6th grade. So like that was from the small school, small town to now Fort Collins, which was a little bit bigger. I think there was like 1,000 kids in the high school. So, I mean, we went from like, you know, 600 in like all of the whole entire town, you know, they all mixed together to the 1,000. And then moving to Denver, it was halfway through my senior year after I was, you know, pleasantly given away. So after that, then I chose to finish, you know, high school in Lakewood. And I mean, that's a whole nother story. That's definitely not a race Kiki topic, but there is definitely some a different Kiki we could talk about with that one for sure. That's, you know, be more of a gay Kiki topic. Yeah. I will just say that my like high school experience was not that of, I think, what kids have today. You know, the horror stories that you would hear of somebody getting beaten up and everything else, that was like my day-to-day life. And within that school, it was very, I mean, it was, I can't hide who I am. You know what I mean? And when I went to that school, that was one thing that they told me that I should try and do so that, you know, I wouldn't have things happen to me.
And you were subject to a lot of gay bashings and such.
Oh, yeah. There was a day that like one of the star wrestlers actually had a cup of soup that was boiling hot and threw it in my face and ran off, and nothing ever happened to him. Yeah. Because they made state that year. So I mean, again, that's a whole different topic. We were talking about this. So
I get it. It's that's a trauma. A trauma is a trauma.
Yeah.
Now you get to tell me how you meet Venus.
So we met actually at a karaoke place, which is still around. And God, what's it called? It's off of trying to think of what the damn street's name is. Armidas, I think is what it's called.
Alameda?
No. It's a I mean, she could tell you, she still remembers. I remember the night that we almost killed. Anyway, that's a whole different, that's like fast forwarding. But so we meet. She comes in and she's got this cute like black top with this red like Asian symbol on it, and she's got these like black like 3/4 length pants that are kind of rolled up underneath the knee, and she's got high-ish heels on. And I'm like, this diva, like I love her, like I'm living for her. And then she's saying, and I was like, I hate her. And then it was like we met and had this attitude off, and at first, honestly, if you ask either one of us, we did not like each other at all right away. And then after that, something clicked and we just became like the best of friends. And then, you know, we ended up living with each other a couple times, and throughout our history, I mean, we've gone up and down, but you know, we actually just talked a couple of days ago. So I mean, you know, we've had our ins and outs and ups and arounds, but
did you guys start drag? Who was doing drag first?
It was kind of a mixture of both. You know, I was doing it in secret in my closet, and then when I first went to Tracks 2000, like the original Tracks, I saw Aurora and Unique, and Kira, and I fell in love with these, like, again, people that I'd only seen on TV, like Too Long Fu. Now I'm seeing real life drag queens, and I was fascinated. So then my ex's mom was very okay with gay and open with things, and I was super tiny then, so I could fit into her little, like, you know, toddler clothes. And I thought that I was like a real woman, so I had big birdseed boobs, and then
I remember
wear padding.
those.
Any of those kinds of things. And you know, Venus and she snuck into a lot more places than I did. I was terrified of getting caught and getting thrown in jail and all the things. And actually, a story that I have of us, we actually had the same exact fake once I finally got one from a friend of ours, who, that person who was a little bit larger than we are, had the same fake. Venus had the same fake, and I had the same fake. And I went to go into BJ's, which is no longer around, but we all staged it at different times. Well, it just so happened that the same door person that took Venus's portion of the ID also took mine, and then they would not allow me in. So I was banned from BJ's for a very long time after that. But yeah, I think, you know, she definitely started with the older like core group, where I was a little bit different in the fact that I wasn't really involved in all that at first. And then, like, I remember I was obsessed with just doing drag out at Tracks. And then Aurora kind of like took me under her wing-ish, told me that I should run for a youth pageant. I did. And then I won. And then actually Venus was the last one to win the Gay Pride Youth pageant of Colorado.
I think that's when I met, that's when I kind of met all of you children. Children, you guys were so fucking young.
Girl.
Just tearing up Denver, teetering around on high heels, drunk all the time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I can't not say that wasn't. Yeah, we were all a fun bunch.
Yeah, you were young. It was what you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk to you about the beauty industry, because I know you've been beating mugs and beating your own mug, and you're professional.
Thank you.
I don't even know how to ask this question, but what I'm noticing, or what I've noticed over the course of many, many, many years of paying attention, is the beauty industry is is a tough mistress that only answers to one master, and that master tends to be the whims of a straight white man.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I've noticed how it is now adopting the style, the vernacular, the aesthetic, the essence of beautiful Black and trans women.
Mm-hmm.
And putting a white face on it,
Mm-hmm.
and calling it new and revolutionary.
Mm-hmm. I mean, keep going. Yeah. It's, I watched your part, like, I watched the whole entire felony video last night. And when that topic specifically came up, I was like, absolutely, I think the thing for me is, especially being in the drag community for as long as I have, just watching things be taken and used as different things. I mean, like, it's revolutionary. Everybody's baking these days and everybody's contouring, and like, it's funny for me because it's like I learned contour from a very early age of doing drag, and it was from drag queens and trans women that taught me all of these tips and tricks that I know today. And what's fun for me is that I Venus and I worked very well together, and she was one of my first like deeper skin tones that I ever worked on. And so, like, for me, it was amazing because she actually helped me, get into my love of makeup, especially for somebody who is marginalized and isn't represented perfectly. So, I always loved the fact of, when I worked for MAC for like, oh my God, 100 fucking years, my favorite thing is having a Black diva come in and be like, oh, well, you don't understand my skin tone. You don't know how to paint my face. And I'm like, girl, sit down. Like, let's do this. You know what I mean? Because I think it's sad that, truthfully, a lot of makeup artists are not taught how to use or like find products for a deeper skin tone. The training just isn't there within all brands. Even though they claim to be exclusive or inclusive, they're definitely not. But going back to like the trans and drag, let's call it what it is, theft of the makeup looks. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I think that, for the longest time, like, the Lauder family has purchased a lot of different brands out there, and then own them and then dig them into the dirt when they find that niche that they want to take from them and make it their own, make money off of them and destroy the company from the underneath. I love that. I don't know. I know that you've been watching stuff for the past, like few years, as we all have. I don't know if you've seen a lot of things this happening year, with a pull up or shut up challenge from Sharon, and I don't want to mess up her last name. She's actually the founder of a brand new brand. She is a Black woman, and it's called, I hope I don't pronounce this wrong, but I think it's called Uoma. It's OUAMA, I think. I don't know. They just did, actually. They had a beautiful collection, which I wish I actually had a job right now so I could purchase the whole thing. But from Coming to America too, they sponsored that, and they made that thing. She did a challenge this year when it came to all of the major brands. It was called Pull Up or Shut Up, saying like, hey, like, we want to see how many like Black people you have working for you and how many like people of other than white you have at the top, the middle, and at the bottom, because you're saying that you're diverse, but we want to see what your diversity actually looks like. And I was like, well, finally somebody's saying something, because even working for the few brands that I've had the amazingness to work for, the diversity is 1% maybe in any of those, or maybe 2%. And then it's like going back to again, these things that are created, it's basically like off of, taking stuff from other people. Like, nothing I feel like anymore in this life is original. I think everything's spawned from the take mentality, and that's what brought capitalism and even makeup styles into what it is today. There's nothing that's really original. I mean, even now today, like this last couple of years, like cut creases are huge. And, I always thought, oh my God, I can't do a fucking cut crease. Well, Kira taught, Venus and I that like almost 20 years ago. It just wasn't called that then. It was just called a stage trick that we didn't teach anybody because it was a family secret. And now this family secret is like millions of people doing. And I'm like, girl, like this is like from a queen. These are things that like they taught them on stage to project their faces to look more like female when they were either transitioning or still male. So it's crazy to see. I think all the things that we've learned in our lifetime now become this pop culture phenomenon. And then, I think with Drag Race too, it's pushing that even more out there to where now there's even more than just female drag performers. Well, I shouldn't say female, like more than just like male dressed as female performers. There's also this entity of all these nuances, which is amazing. I love the confidence and love that it gives to people, but the homage of where everything comes from is definitely lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry, I mean that was long-winded, but I mean
no, it's not long-winded. You're making amazing points, and I think, well, like how do we move forward? How do we go forward? How do we, as like you as a makeup artist, as a makeup person, as a person speaking in beauty, what do you do going forward to make sure that you are paying homage to what you're doing correctly?
I think it also goes back to that conversation I watched with you and Felony last night. And I keep bringing up that one just because it is the latest on my mind, but there are also valid points that really stuck with me. So I think one of that thing goes back to the I see color, I don't see color. And I think that a lot of makeup brands are very tiptoey around the verbiage that they use because they don't want to offend, but then they're going to offend either way. However, like I just recently started my own freelance business after being laid off from the pandemic. And my first thing is, I want to know, and I want the world to know, we see color and we want you to feel beautiful in the skin that you're in, because I value your color. I value whatever slice of the rainbow you are. And I want you to know that I'm capable and able to work with you no matter what piece of that puzzle is. And I think that confidence and that transparency needs to be within the makeup community from the get, and any other makeup brand that's either starting or ones that are already out there. Because, there are many like mission statements or many models or many things that say that they're all inclusive, but then it's like, well, are you really? Because you're saying that you are inclusive, but then you're not actually saying like, we see you, we hear you, we feel you, we're just using you for the money that's coming in to make us more capital success.
We're inclusive only if you are following exactly the makeup we tell you to put on, the way we tell you put it on, the products we tell you to buy, the lashes we tell you to buy, do the eyebrows exactly the way I tell you to do them. And if you do it in your way and you feel beautiful, how dare me tell you that you don't?
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing a lot of, it's like, okay, take all of these things and go out into the world, but you can't be beautiful unless I give you validation telling you you're beautiful.
It's true.
And it's keeping us in such a shitty place, because if we're all running around here looking for validation from other people, and those of us, in order for us to feel better than, there has to be someone lesser than.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the mentality, which is a fucked up way to think about it, because I don't think that's true at all. Like for me, I love all shapes, all sizes. Like, as a dream of mine, we'll say, to go with this freelance business that I have, my dream is to have my own makeup collection. And within that collection, my thought process is to have people of all colors, of all religions, of all sexualities, of all genders, of all like capabilities, or of all capabilities, we'll say. Like I want to showcase somebody that's in a wheelchair, somebody that is like black, somebody that is Muslim, somebody that's white, somebody that's Asian, somebody that's like redheaded. I want everybody to feel important because, you know, like I'll tell you, one of the most special times I think I've had in the past recent years is there was a child that was in a Sephora, and I had full lashes on. I mean, I was beat, right? It was one of our like launch days, and you know, I wanted to go in and just represent what the collection stood for, which was more makeup, more fun. And that child saw me across the room. At the time, they were questioning gender issues, but because they saw a person that looked like them across the room, they had their mom bring them to me. And it, you know, it was important for that person to see another person that looked like them. And I think that's something that's so forgotten, is that, you know, I actually did a blog about this a couple weeks ago on my site, and it's called like, you know, inclusively exclusive or inclusively exclusive. And the reason I put that on there is because when you look up inclusive brands, the first thing that it talks about is the shade range of foundation. That's it. That's it. That's literally the only thing that they talk about. So for me, it pissed me off because I'm like, okay, well, if you're only talking like, okay, this brand has 46 shades, this brand has 50, this brand has 60, great. I'm loving the fact that we're like creating all of these colors. That's awesome. But what else does inclusive mean to y'all? Because if you're only telling me that inclusivity means that you have more of a shade range for people, then you are missing the whole entire point of that word, because you're not giving an actual inclusive piece. And you know, like for me, again, it's like I love models. I think they're gorgeous. I think they were made stunning. But I also want to see somebody that looks like me on a you know, Sephora gondola, for instance. If I'm walking by and being able to be like, oh, wait, you know, like, and that's one thing I'm trying to fight for in the beauty community too, is because you don't see a lot of men on programming either. It's always beautiful, gorgeous women. And you know, these days now we're starting to see more plus sizes and, you know, like a lot of different shade ranges, but it's like only used when it comes to foundation colors. And that blows my mind.
You know what I'm seeing a lot more of, and this may just be my my Instagram feed, is a lot of models with vitiligo and
Love that.
albinism.
Yep.
And as beautiful and striking as I'm finding that, and I'm also finding a lot of very, very South Sudanese models, so very darker complected models that have just been just stunning. And it's probably just been in the last year that I've seen that, and where it's not a novelty, but it's just, look at this beautiful woman in her beautiful skin, in this beautiful red lip, and she is giving you everything she needs. And you're like, oh, okay, this is what I expect to see. And I see a full-figured girl, and I see femme boys, and I see butch girls, and I see all of these things that I absolutely love. And I feel like that's wonderful for our children, and it's wonderful for people to open magazines and finally see themselves.
Exactly.
Finally,
and that's why
see their freckles. What if I don't want to cover my freckles? What if I enjoy the imperfections in my skin and I just want a nude lip? Or what if I just want to wear lashes? And you know, I'm seeing that a lot more now, and that's just been in the last year.
Yep. No, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it's been a slow coming, but I think it's Sony's like a huge jumpstart too, because I feel like we're in 2021, but I feel like the makeup community is still behind. Not necessarily the community, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I don't want to get like stabbed by anybody that's out there, but I think the makeup moguls that have created this capitalistic piece of like, you need to buy every single collection because XYZ have missed the mark when it came to actually, you know, making, like, my biggest thing is when I'm doing somebody's makeup is I want their insides to match their outside. So if they're uncomfortable with the way that they look outside, I want their like outside to mimic what they feel on the inside. And I think that's the reason why I even started more of this like virtual consultation, because let's be real, a lot of gay men who want to wear makeup aren't taught because their parents either won't allow them, or their boyfriends don't like it, or something in society is just not clicking for them to feel comfortable. And then you've got like our trans sisters that aren't taught, or they're scared to go into a makeup counter because of the judgment, the fear, the rejection. So, watching that my whole life with myself and Venus growing up, and we were scared to buy like an Almay stick back in the day, and it would never be the right color. So then we'd have to blend like crazy to even look somewhat normal. And there isn't an outlet, I don't think, like that for people right now, especially for people of our community. It really is something that I'm so passionate about, because there are so many murders, there's so many suicides right now, there's so many things that are going on dark in our world, that all I want to give back is just love and light. And because makeup is my passion, it is what is ingrained in my artistic being, it's something that I can give back, but also help our community steer into that bigger and brighter future for themselves. And I've seen so many people throughout the years who have just maybe put on that eyelash, like you said, with a nude lip, and they felt powerful, and they've gone into so many beautiful, glorious things after just learning how to apply a lash. You know what I mean? So for me, that's my mission, I guess, my love and my passion for life.
I think that that's absolutely an amazing undertaking. I really do. I've met so many people in my life who have, for one reason or another, been afraid to enjoy makeup and enjoy the art of it, and the joy of it, and the fun of it. And I can remember I had a friend, she's passed now, but she always wanted to transition. And it wasn't until much later in life, after several failed marriages, after lots of alcohol, after lots of drugs, after lots of hurting herself and others, she made the decision to transition. And the one thing that she absolutely wanted in her life more than anything else was to be beautiful.
Ooh, that breaks my heart.
She left us before she was able to achieve that in her world.
Ooh.
And it breaks my heart that so many of our trans brothers and sisters face violence just from walking around the world, being themselves. And it's not them that causes them harm. It's the world, because we've told the world that isn't normal. But who gets to decide what normal is?
The rich white people at the top, unfortunately.
But they say one thing, whilst, as a matter of fact, I was reading yesterday that there is an Arizona congressman who voted for an anti-trans bill, and at the same time was Googling some trans models' erotic photos. You heard what I said.
Yeah, and that kind of shit like sends me into an oblivion, because it's just like those dudes that were passing or trying to pass like anti-gay legislation as well, and then you find them in the bathroom hooking up like with dudes like at the stall. You remember when that came
in the airport? Yes.
Yeah.
When you're going to Washington, D.C., and you're calling all those high-class male prostitutes to come to your hotel, trust me, I used to work in Washington, D.C. I know who you are. I know who you are.
It makes me like so angry.
Voting against your good graces because, heaven forbid, Marjorie finds out that I like a dick in my butt.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, it's so hypocritical, and it's so like I think too, it's like with American culture, we have, like the fetishizing, like you said, also on the felony interview, is such a big thing. But I think that's also become a huge thing when it comes to trans women. It is a huge fetish for straight men, or even now, like an F to M, like transitioning woman to male. That's a huge fetish for people too, even including in our community, which I can't stand it.
I'm gonna give you one better. I can remember there was one night, it was you and me. Well, it was Venus and Ginger and me. We were all out at tracks, old tracks, not old tracks, but old tracks.
Yeah.
And we're walking through, and there was some nope, I take that back. We weren't at tracks, we were at a straight bar. You and Venus had something to do at a straight bar. And there were straight men following you guys around like nobody's fucking business.
Mm-hmm.
And Venus says, well, you know how she is. She's tossing hair. She's being cute. And you're like, we have penises. And they're all like, and that was that. Don't tell nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your wig on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take your bra off.
Mm. Well, first of all, I never clown fucked. So let's put one thing into perspective there. And here's the thing. I am not trying to offend anybody with that terminology, but for me, when I have my face on, it is like a mask. It is not my identity. It is a persona that it's basically like it's in my head. I'm playing a part on TV for the world to see. It may just not be on broadcasted television like RuPaul's Drag Race, but always in my mind, I've always had Ginger as a character.
Yes.
There has never been a time that I've had sex and drag, and I won't, because that to me takes it to a different emotional level. And like, if you can do that, good for you, praise you, that's you, girl. I don't identify that way. So when those kinds of things used to happen, obviously Venus and I loved it, because little beknownst to us, we didn't understand the fetishizing back then, but it was like somebody was paying attention to us, especially when she and I first came out as 21, we were threats to everybody and nobody really paid attention to us anymore because we were the young, pretty girls that were doing everything wrong. Like, you remember what we used to wear. We would wear crop tops with big old titties. I mean, I never had the ass that Venus has had, and I still wish I could have like a fourth of that size of that beautiful butt. But, I didn't wear pads back then, so I was flat-assed and big-titted, and I it was like I was mimicking Britney, she was mimicking Janet, like, and Brandy, and, those were our, like, role models that we looked up to at that time, so we wore things that I remember very specific people calling us out, saying that we were off the rack girls, that we were not real drag queens, that, it was a very different time of drag. And now you see that almost everywhere, except for all this new, like, now they want to go back to that style of like wearing expensive shit again. And I'm like, well, like, whatever, if you're going to pay me for it, sure. But if not, then like we have nothing to discuss here. I'm going to wear my sweater dress.
I'm so irritated by the overly produced sensation that is RuPaul's Drag Race. I can't. One of my
RuPaul's Clone Race?
You said it. One of my favorite things in the entire world used to be going to the bar and seeing some up and coming scrappy little queen twirling around, making her dime, making her dollars, just twirling and flipping. And you're like, yes, girl, yes, girl, yes, girl. But now I've been to these like Voss Entertainment event things where you pay a cover at the door and there's just like dancers and it's like this Vegas style entertainment that I could give 3 shits about.
Yeah.
I could give 3 shits about it. I think that if you're doing a drag show and there's a script, how fucking dare you?
Well, yeah. I mean, unless it's like something written like you did for Venus and I back in the day. I mean, let's be real. That was cute. So that's different. It was cute. I wish we would have recorded that. That's a whole nother sidebar.
God is so mad that I don't have a copy of it because I don't have a copy. Y'all, I wrote 3 plays back in the day. It was called The Trouble with Getting Lucky. It was hilarious, but I don't have a copy of it. But Ginger was in it, and I don't have a copy of it.
Oh my God. That's crazy. We had fun with that. I mean, I remember how nervous I was just trying to act on stage. And like, going back to what you were just saying, when it comes to like the whole entire Vegas showdom, going back to like just regular drag, I mean, like, I loved it when V started singing because she broke boundaries with that. And now every girl has an album that's on iTunes that you can download. And, I give them all props for their hustle. I give them all props.
Some
for
of
their
them
stuff.
are even good.
Yes. I mean, but then there's talent like V who is lost in the mix that, I'm gonna compare this really quick. She is very much Mariah Carey. She's not a dancing queen. She is a singing queen. She can stand there and captivate an audience with a microphone and be amazing at the end of her shift, if you will, right? I don't like dancing either. I consider myself more of a ballad queen. Now, over the years, people have called me that. I used to take offense, but now I actually get it because I'm old and fat right now, so let's be real about that. Until she can get back into her shape, we're gonna just meander around. But the other thing is too is that I love to take people through an emotional journey. I want you to either cry, laugh, scream, whatever you need to do over that in that 5 minutes. I want to take you out of your life or whatever you're going through and give you an experience. I don't want it to be turn, kick, splits, death drop, turn, kick, splits, death drop, and all that kind of stuff. First of all, girl,
this move, and then this one,
and
then this one.
Okay, can we talk okay, let's even just bring that up. So I found out that there was a burn book in Denver when Venus and I were on our up and coming.
Okay.
I found out what they wrote on my page, which thank you. I think it's hilarious. Whoever wrote it, I really wish I could see it so I could sign it for you, because if you were that obsessed with all of us at that point in time to create something so vile, good for you. But they called my dance move the cockroach, because they said it looked like I was stamping cockroaches. Bitch, when I found that out, I fell the fuck out. I literally was that's all you can come for me with? Fine, whatever. But I mean, it's crazy because now, I think the biggest thing for Venus and I too, when we were learning drag, is we learned from the older generation that started, from the Nina Montaldos, from all the court queens that had been in the game for so many years and that had to suffer through so much adversity to get to where drag was, even for us at that point. Now they don't have any recollection of where any of this comes from.
What I found really, really interesting was that you were the only white sexton.
Well, besides Aurora, but she's mixed, I guess.
No, I thought I always assumed that she was a Latina.
I think she's half. I honestly don't even know the actual. God, that's gonna make me sound really stupid. I feel dumb for even here. Let me
Either
just
way, but I remember you always commenting of the fact that you were Kira Sexton's only white drag daughter. What do you think that taught you?
A lot. I mean, honestly, I got to learn so much about the Latin culture. I got to learn about the Asian culture through Vandy more so. I mean, and if you even look at my brew of crazies, I have a Skittles rainbow of color, creed, race, religion, everything. You know what I mean? I think for me, it's always been about accepting everyone and loving everyone and giving everyone a chance. I mean, that's the reason why I started baby drag. That's the reason why we did the damn RuPaul Ultimate Queen contest for everybody. That's the reason why we did so many things with youth, because for me, growing up in Rainbow Alley with Venus, we saw how much people needed that. And in our generation too, there weren't people that gave us a chance to be ourselves at that age. So I think for me, that was something that was always important, was to give that next generation the set of tools and wheels and love. And we all know that I didn't always get along with my drag mama. That's in the stars. The whole entire world knows that. But the things she did taught me, God, I sound like an idiot. The things that she did teach me, I will always have forever in my heart. It's kind of crazy that you bring that up, because I have her memoriam right here. So every day I get ready with her, and then one of my friends that passed that actually solidified the reason why I'm in makeup. And so every day that I'm getting ready, those two are looking at me, and it's it's a bittersweet symphony when I'm looking down and knowing that they're my angels, but it's also my driving factor and the reason why I'm trying to do and get these things that I'm trying to do done.
That is wonderful.
Thank you.
That's so wonderful. I have a question.
Yes.
Because I asked Venus this on our Kiki. White queens and black music. Thoughts?
I'm scared to do it. Not gonna lie. I mean, I used to do Whitney back in the day. I also did Lil Kim a couple times. How many licks?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this. When I was growing up, my first CDs were black music. Mm-hmm. I bought Salt and Pepper and TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And BET was my life. I wasn't really a very big MTV person until I came back from being a summer at my dad's house in Houston. So that's where I actually learned about BET and all the other like beautiful, things, like around 15-ish, right? Mm-hmm. So then like Lauryn Hill, the Fugees, like those were all my original things. And then coming home to like my mom's side, it was all country music all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it was this clash of like things. And then, lo and behold, I find this like canary called Mariah Carey, and I fell in love. And like, she and The Little Mermaid were my practice drag in my bedroom and the bathroom with my towel hair. But, here's my thing. I think music is universal, but I think you also have to consider what is in the lyrics and what is going on, because
that's exactly what Venus said.
So, like I'll admit, back in the day, I did How Many Licks without taking out pieces of words and stuff like that. And honestly, now that I look back at it, I'm horrified that that was done. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, it isn't in today's day and age, because I would be drugged and canceled and all the things that the kids say. But
I don't believe in cancel. I believe in accountability. Yeah. I know that at certain points in all of our lives, we've said some and done some shit that, by God, I would absolutely have regrets about. If you pulled it up right now, I would say, oh my God, I absolutely did that. This is how I've learned not to do that. And I absolutely guarantee that will never escape my lips again, because of the following steps that I've done to make sure that will not happen.
Totally.
I am embarrassed for myself that I did it. I'm embarrassed that you all saw it. I'm embarrassed that I did it.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I feel like if you come at it that way and you're like, I am mortified with myself. People are all like, you know what? I've been there. I have been there. I have put my foot in my mouth before. I can remember being somewhere and I'm all like, no, that Oriental guy over there. And I'm like, oh my God, that is not, that you can't say that is not a word. And I know that that's not true. And before he even heard it, I apologized because I knew I was wrong.
Right.
So cancel, that is such a, I feel like that's a trigger word right now for the others that want to make an excuse for their hypocrisy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think going again back to like that question, for me, I've always loved like Black churches, Black music, Black like culture. Like for me, after learning about it, it was beautiful. The fact that I didn't learn as much as I needed to in school still fucking bothers me to this day. And like that shit has to change. And there's so many people now that are like, oh, we have to take Trump out of our textbooks. Actually, no, because history repeats itself if you fucking hide things that weren't supposed to like be hidden. So, from all of the horrific things that the American culture has done that is hidden for so many fucking years, we have got to change it and put it into the history books as of this year or next, and start teaching actual fucking things that happen on the soil of our country.
And finally deal with our shame.
Yes.
And deal with the fact that the minute we start making white people uncomfortable, the minute that happens, we change the subject.
Absolutely.
The minute you guys get even the tiniest bit, we change the subject.
And then that needs to stop, because the subject is going to be there whether you want to talk about it or not. It's already
been
happened
here for 400 years.
Yeah. And yes, thank you. I mean, like as a person that's an ally of the situation, I have no room to talk about any feelings or anything else like that. So I'm very conscious about listening, because I think for me, it's about hearing what I can do to be a better human being for my friends and my family that are persons of color. I don't know the experience. I can't talk about the experience because it's not my experience to have or to talk about. And the fact that so many people shut that down, and even me just saying that, truly, there's a lot of people in my life that I thought were very open to things, which are not anymore. And so, including even some family members now I don't speak to. And, you know, my it did also have to come with voting situations, but I also am not going to allow somebody in my life that is going to specifically rule out any one person or persons because of specific characteristics of their genetic makeup. I'm not that person, and I will never be that person. I love everyone until you cross me, and then like we're gonna have words. But like, you know, I feel like the world is in such an indifferent, but could also be in such a better place that I really love your talk of hope in your last, you know, video too, because I do feel that I know that some people are, you know, jaded, and some people are very hurt, and some people are very not willing to see the next phase of things because they've just been damaged for so long, and they've been taught to not feel anything. That, like, for me, that's why I try and do as much as I can to give the love and the positivity, because there's so much bad out there that we have to like overproduce the good. And there was a couple weeks ago, I actually was told by somebody that I have a mental disorder called toxic positivity, which I looked it up. It is an actual thing. I had no idea. So it actually kind of fucked me up for a couple of days, because I was like, you know, am I actually only putting out positive things in the universe? And then I thought, no, that's not a true statement at all. Like, I am a very positive person online because I don't let everybody know every single part of my life. There are days I don't get out of bed. There are days that I cry. There are days that I eat myself like 50 pounds over what I should be. But I don't talk about that, because what good is it to bring darker parts into the world when the world's already dark enough as it is? So like, I mean, like, call me, you know, toxic positivity all you want, but at the end of the day, I have my own balances of things. You just may not see them on social media all the time. But do I have other emotions besides just being smiley and happy and birds and rainbows and chirpy and, you know, glitter? Yes, absolutely. But the realistic aspect is what you put into the universe is what also is going to like magnify out. So I choose to put more positive things out there than I do to bring more negative, because I find that when you put a negative thing, people hang on to it, and then you've got 700 comments that then start a whole entire different chain reaction with people than when you could be putting something out there and having 700 comments on something happy that spreads more love and light into the world. And then there's also that realistic aspect of, hey, this is the shit we need to talk about. This is the shit that hasn't been talked about. And this is what we actually do need to have conversations with. And it's a mixture of both. So let's be real, and let's be respectful, and let's grow together. Or if we can't grow together, we're going to grow apart, because I don't need you in my life anymore if you're going to be just a straight up fucking asshole. Bye.
That is an amazing thought process. And I think that hope is our only opportunity to move forward. I chose to focus on our racial reckoning, if you will, because when George Floyd got murdered last year, I went down to the shore to visit some friends, down to the Jersey Shore to visit some friends, and it was one of the single most uncomfortable weekends I'd ever spent away from my house. And I knew that all of the well-meaning liberal friends that I thought that I knew, not just the people that I was in this situation with, not them at all, but well, one of them, but all of the people on my friends list, all the people that I had been communicating with over the years. I'd gotten into many, many discussions with people about their justification of George's murder, of the justification of the police, of justification of the military being called, and all of these things. And I realized that those were people who were so used to seeing the world through white eyes. And we haven't taught ourselves real history. B, we've only been shown the American dream through white eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And C, we still don't value recreational Black people. What I mean by recreational Black people is you don't have a problem with me or people who look like me at all when we're working for you. But when we're out when we're just out being recreational, how dare us be in the same space as you and us not working for you? So clearly you're causing me danger, so you must be put down. And those people, I hate using that word, but that particular mindset is dangerous, but it's also what I'm finding half of our country.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about having all of my beautiful white allies is you are in rooms where I'm generally not. Or you hear these off color, those people, you know how they are, well, he probably had it coming, these so on and so forths. What I love is that all of my ally friends stop all that bullshit.
Oh yeah.
They stop their drunk Uncle Steven from popping off with comfortable education or cussing them out or what have you. Because if I have that conversation with Steve, because Steve could say these things to me and I might have one thing to say, but Steve has that conversation with Jamal might fuck him up.
Yeah.
And then we put Jamal on trial for something that fucking Steve said.
Yeah.
And then we blame Jamal for Steve's ignorance.
Yep. Yep.
How was that Jamal's fault?
It's not.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's such a shitty thing to even like hear, obviously, as a person that is your ally. And it breaks my heart hearing any of these stories all the time. So, I mean, I can't tell you, like, obviously I, again, can't speak or feel the feelings that you felt. And it's still, as an, person that's like an empath that like really feels people's emotions and really tries to be caring and compassionate and kind, especially in, I think, my last few years of just really trying to heal myself and the world, at bay. I've cried a lot in the last year. I mean, let's be real. Like it's hard for me to see any of my friends that I consider family, because let's be real, we've known each other for, we won't even say how many years, but a long time. And it breaks my heart.
Probably been about 20 years.
I wasn't going to say it, but you had to.
Probably been about 20 years.
I think so. I mean, Jesus, yeah. Because we were in our 20s and I'll be 40 this September. So, I mean, it's just
your birthday, and we are so close in our birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be
girl, 6 days, because you have the same day as my ex.
Yeah.
We erased him from that day.
But get this, bitch. I turned 49 in September.
Yeah, but you don't look it at all.
I know. There's a portrait of me that looks terrible somewhere.
Let it. I just feel like we're getting better with age. So everybody can like.
I think so too.
But, I want to come back to a little bit of the makeup portion too, because you had brought something up when it was, and I kind of like skimmed over it, but then I just remembered again as you were talking and telling that really beautiful story. I mean, not beautiful, but I don't want to say it wrong.
No, I get what you're saying.
So when I was a manager at my last place with Mac, Mac was very accepting of a lot of things. And I, as a manager of a sea of different colors on my team, I wanted to make sure that they were represented in every single way. So, you have daily sheets that you have to fill out every day. You have and on those daily sheets, some managers chose to just do the numbers, blah, blah, blah. I chose to have it more colorful. And so for me, when we did theme days, I would try and find different skin tones, different ethnicities, different everything to put on those pages so that every one of my team members could feel represented and see themselves on the paper so that they understood what the look was supposed to look like for them.
Mhm.
And I think, this is 3 years ago is when I left, well, like 2.5, when I left that location. And I had the hardest time trying to find anything. I mean, even my assistant manager, Chantal, who happens to be a Black, beautiful woman who is so incredibly talented with makeup. I mean, I learned so much from her, and she was my assistant manager. But for me, my employees I was their employee. Does that make sense? Like, I always flip the script. I'm just not that person that is like really bossy. I like to let them make their decisions, and then I'll follow them. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then we talk about how we can make it work later. But I think my point with that is, in 3 years, things have definitely changed within the makeup scope of online. But I also think that the algorithm that Facebook or that Instagram or that anything else puts out there also keeps everybody in these bubbles. And here's the reason why. I follow a lot of Black makeup artists. I follow a lot of Asian makeup artists. I follow a lot of Latin makeup artists. But still on my feed is half naked gay men. Why? Because I tag myself gay in all of my like TikTok videos, or I put gay on every single makeup that I post out there because I want to cater to my community, to help my people see that they can have whatever face they want. So when that brings it up, that algorithm brings up naked men. Or a lot of times it was for a while until I got that algorithm changed, almost all drag queens, which I love drag, obviously. I've done it for a million years now, but I also wanted to see other parts out there. So for me, I had to start following certain hashtags to get that diversity and that following for me to see. And I think that's the other thing, that as we're progressing into this new, like, I want to say new world, because it literally has to be. We can't go back into the ways of what we were before the pandemic. We have to brace this time that we have never talked about, and we have to move forward in a way that we can all come together with those uncomfortable conversations and with an understanding of love and light to move forward, and not like
inequality.
Everything.
It's equality. I don't care if you don't like me, but I do care that we're treated equally. I don't care if you don't. I don't care if you like me. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I can dislike you, but I still don't wish you well. I mean, I don't wish you harm.
Right.
I don't wish you harm. I don't wish anything. Just like you, I'm going to let you go with God, and I'm going to go too. And we're going to both be lovely. I wish you only the best. And you, yeah, I lost my train of thought. But I knew I was going somewhere interesting.
Well, and like, I think just, ending that out for me is just, we have to take a look at some of even the technology pieces that are out there, because the technology algorithms that are making us click, 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 are only letting us see the same clicks over and over. And that needs to be completely demolished or restructured so that we can see a sea of the actual world and not just the bubble we fucking live in.
Yeah, because my particular algorithm, I'm only seeing natural hair, beautiful Black women in natural hair, and very muscular Asian fellas.
Oh. I mean, great hair, great abs.
How dare you? Because my waist went up to a size 29 and I'm devastated, so I have to get it back down.
Bitch, I don't want to talk about my waist size right now. That's why I'm from the
Devastated.
Honey, I was a size 3 in drag forever. I am no longer a size 3. And I literally look at some of the clothes that I have held on to my whole entire drag life, like my mother's wedding dress that I was going to do in a performance. I can't even get one fucking leg in that thing anymore at all.
Are you happy?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, girl, absolutely. I'm in love. I'm thriving. Like, I'm living for me. And yes, I'm absolutely happy. Like, I can't not say that. It's my life is a blessing, even though, obviously the pandemic took away my job. It's fine because now I'm finding even more about myself and what I want to make and do in this world. And it's, for me, let me slow down and also put into the world what I want to really put into the world, not what I'm told to put in the world.
What you're forced to put into the world for money.
Wait, are you asking me or what?
No,
Sorry.
I'm saying that's what the pandemic has actually
Yes.
forced me to relax and center my focus. And I love style and elegance and all of the, I love getting gussied up and going places. I love it.
I know.
However, I'm more concerned about the emotional health of my brown brothers and sisters, my black and brown brothers and sisters. I'm more concerned with what I'm discovering is racialized trauma that we all live in. And we have to move past this idea. Do you know that a lot of black and brown people don't even have a chance to dream because we are so overwhelmed with living while black? We don't have the, you ask a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then you hear garbage man, this, that, some practical thing. You ask another kid, another little white kid, what do you want to be? They have like 8 or 9 things. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a fireman. I want to be something. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to help unpack all of this shit that we've been walking around with all of our lives, all of this anti-other that we put ourselves in these boxes surrounded by these confines that have been decided by people who don't know us, to tell us that we're supposed to live the life that is only important for money and power. And in the only way I feel good about myself is if I make somebody else feel bad. That was the world we lived in before.
Yeah.
That world was shit.
Yeah, it was shit.
It was shit. No one was happy. Even when you thought you were happy, you couldn't have been.
Nope.
Because if your happiness is tied to what you do for a living, how much money you have, how many Instagram followers I have, how many friends how many likes I get, you're not happy. That's just, you're looking for validation through what? Through what?
A magical place called the internet. That's
a magical place, a bunch of unhappy people faking it for the world.
Yep.
And so afraid to just deal with the fact that our country has pitted us all against one another to keep us all busy fighting one another while the powers that be rape us all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you get too loud, if you make too much noise, they've always had a way of silencing you. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist. It's just, we can be better than this. We deserve better than this.
Oh, 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%.
So I decided that my life should be better spent making light of this all. Let's just have a laugh about it. Racism is stupid. Racists are stupid. And I know I could take a softer, kinder approach to it. It's all like, oh, baby, why do you believe that? But in all honesty, it's stupid. What you believe is stupid.
Yeah.
And you can't come up with one single fact that I believe that will make your belief system less stupid.
Yeah, no.
Like everything you're saying is stupid. And I'm over hearing devil's advocate. I'm over it because the devil doesn't need a goddamn advocate. I've said that forever. Girl, the devil doesn't need you as an advocate. What do you do? Work in middle management at Target? The devil doesn't need you.
Shit.
He doesn't need you, girl.
Lord. Target. I can't. Oh, you're quick way. I've missed your ass. Oh my God. No, and I agree with you 1,000,000%. And I think like, I love the fact that you're doing this. And when I started seeing, the first one with Russell, and I honestly I don't ever go to YouTube. I'm like, not even gonna lie to you. So I did last night and then saw that you have a lot more. So I'm definitely interested in going in. I wrote down a couple of the books last night that you and Felony were talking about, which I do definitely want to read. I'm not a huge reader, so it's going to take me some time just because I just don't like reading. I would rather do like a sound book that tells me when I'm driving, and especially out here,
I will
being in
give
traffic
you,
for hours.
well, if that's the case, all 3 of those books are on Audible.
Perfect. Done.
All
okay.
3 of
Well,
them
I have them written down.
I would especially have you start with, a lot of people have issues with this book, but I love it. It's the book that I recommend to all of the white people that I just, and that's
The White Fragility.
Yes, by Robin DiAngelo.
Yeah.
That's
it's on the top of my list. I literally last night in bed, Aaron was sleeping on the side and I was like writing all the stuff down. And then like the one part when a certain queen was called out from Denver last night, which I fell out. I literally cackled so loud that I woke him up and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Nothing, sorry, go back to bed."
You should have heard what she said when I turned off the camera.
I could 100% agree. But I mean, it's nothing that's not true. It goes back again to that like fetishizing things. And I've noticed that for years.
Yeah, she's I'll say her. I know because she's done it to me. Jackie is a fucking gross freak. She's gross. She makes you feel like you need to take a Silkwood scrub down. And every single moment that I had around her, I remember being in the fitting room, helping Venus get into something, and here she comes in this half-zipped dress, and she's all like, "Negroid, can you zip my dress up?" I was like, "Fuck you, bitch. I don't have time for your bullshit. I just don't have time for it." And Venus just laughing, and I was like, "Girl, I gotta get out of here." She said, "I'm just playing. You so pretty." I know I'm pretty. Get your hands off me.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to drag. I'm just telling truths.
No, I 100% agree. And I think that those kind of things need to be talked about more often, and it needs to be said more realistically. And from, like there's one thing that I think that's great about my mom later in life is that we've had some very tough conversations of our own about my upbringing, about race, about religion, about like so many different things that as kids you're told not to talk to your parents about because your parents know all, say all, be all, like they're whatever. And I think what's great is that we had a conversation one of the last couple of times I was back home, and I had said to her, we were in kind of like a heated discussion. I'll just preface that. And I said, "Mom, here's the thing. You live life through your perception of the way that things happen in this time and era. But I lived in this time. This is my feeling. This is my life. These are my emotions. So you don't get to tell me how I feel. You don't get to tell me how I have been in this situation." And that's the type of approach that I'm taking with a lot of the things that I've learned in the past year. I'm thankful that I have so many friends that I can ask, and obviously, yes, I have to do my own research with everything, and I think everybody should, but I think it is also a conversation that you do have to pit with your friends that are persons of color, that you can ask, like, "Hey, did I do something to offend you? Did I do, can I do something different? And if so, can you give me guidance on what and how I should?" And I think those are conversations that really need to transpire, and that they need to be happening on a daily, minutely, secondly basis across the world for us to heal and grow. And I think if more people would listen, to listen as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to listen to respond, then the world could heal itself a little bit quicker. Because I feel like so many people are coming from a lot of white guilt, to be real,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to respond
Mm-hmm.
right away, and don't let
Mm-hmm.
anybody tell their emotions or their feelings on something that we have no business telling you, Venus, Felony, any of my Black friends, how you can feel or how you should be able to say anything. And I
Or
think
how you are
that's
able to respond, or the tone in which you say things, or
exactly.
your reaction to my dumbass white reaction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you be the one thing that your people love to do
Mm-hmm.
is police our tone
Yeah.
and police our actions, because we are not responding in a white way. I'm sorry, a right way.
No, you said it white.
I know.
No, and it's true, and it's like, just it goes back to that, and like the reason why I brought that up is because the conversations that we were having together were very tough conversations, and I think that that opened up both of us to also be a little bit more respectful. Not a little bit, it made us more respectful. It let us really hear one another, and it let us mend things that we needed to mend. And I bring that up, and not I'm not going to say anything of what was said, because that's personal,
Oh,
and
yeah, I get that.
but if the world could do that, and the world could just sit back and say, hey, how can I help? And actually listen to what somebody's saying, and actually listen to the hurt, the frustration, the anger, and understand why, the tone, the pitch, the whatever is there that is there, then we can actually dissect all of that together.
We can start, we can finally deal with it.
And mend. Yeah.
Yeah, we can deal with it. We can't deal with the problem we're afraid to talk about.
Exactly.
How can you? And
no, you can't.
How can you, a white person, decide to fix a problem that you don't even know exists?
Exactly.
And if you think it does exist, if you think that there's a problem, oh, well, we're just gonna, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give them yoga.
Okay, I'm not laughing at but just your wit sometimes really fucks
like
that.
Bitch, what? It's like we are out here trying to get jobs, and we're trying to get this, and you're giving me yoga in the middle of the day when we all have to work. Girl, shut up. But those are the absurd programs that are suggested for instance, like trans youth in trouble. You're like, they're trying to learn jobs, they're trying to live, they're just trying to live, and you're like, you know what, let's just give you yoga. How does that make sense? And you're sitting on this board of this charity making $200,000 a year to make a decision to give some disenfranchised child who's been thrown out of their house at 16 years old because they may think that they're a girl. And and your answer to that is, oh yeah, let's give them yoga.
Yep.
Because you're looking at this through, well, I'm a white woman and I'm about 35 years old. Do you know what calms me down when I'm really, really high strung? Yoga.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I mean, yoga has its purpose. We'll say that, but I think going off of what you're saying is absolutely true, because somebody who is dealing with trauma, because this is all trauma.
It's all trauma.
You have to get to the core of trauma before you can heal and mend and move on. And doing some downward dog
is putting like a band-aid on a broken leg.
Exactly.
It's putting that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sure, it'll feel good while you're for that 1 hour, but then you have to leave and find out where you're going to sleep that night.
Yep.
And then you have to worry about, while I'm sleeping, is somebody going to try to go into my cookies? And I mean that literally and figuratively.
Totally. No, absolutely. And I mean, that's a scary thing for them to, this is for anybody really, but I mean, especially for our trans youth, it's a, and that's why I think I've worked so exclusively with that community. Like there is a place out here called Trans Family Services, which is an amazing organization, which helps parents understand their children and love their children for who they are, not for this entity of what they thought at birth. And it really helped guide them. And I think that's, when I was still with Mac, that's how I got attached to them, was through the Viva Glam Fund. And it was a volunteer couple of times. And then I really just fell in love with that because I got to teach makeup at the center in San Diego, as well as at a couple of private events. And I was teaching kids to people who were in their 60s, and the light in people's eyes, again, it goes back to like what I really feel like I'm on this earth to do. And that's bring joy through somebody finally seeing themselves as themselves. Like, I'll thank you. I want to give this out there because I think this is so important. So one of my best friends growing up was a larger girl. She was pushing like 300 pounds at 5'4", 5'5", all throughout high school. People were mean to her. And when I had moved to Denver, we had lost touch for a while. And she came down and stayed with my ex and I for a while. And she had fried her hair and she was just in a bad spot. So, we took her for the weekend. I decided I was going to be like, queer eye for the straight guy before that was even a thing, first of all. And I gave her a makeover. And I remember doing the big reveal. And she started bawling. And I was like, oh my God, Ray, like, what did I do? Like, do you hate it? And she's like, no, for the first time in my life, I feel beautiful. And oh, fuck, every time.
That's such
it's something
a
that stuck
beautiful
with
story.
me to this day.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story.
And that's why I think I fight for the equality within makeup as much as I do, and for the equality of every single person on earth, because I want every single person to have that storyline for themselves. I want them to match their outsides to the beautiful inside that they feel, whether that's wearing guy liner or whether that's, going through your transition and needing to cover a beard until you get your laser hair removal or whatever. Like, I just want every single person to be seen as themselves, to love themselves enough so that the rest of the world, no matter what the outside is, falls in love with them because of that bright shining light they have.
Now, how can we find you, darling?
Oh, Jesus. I mean, I've got so many different things out there. We'll make it easy. My Instagram is Be the Makeup Slayer, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but makeup. My freelance company is Apocalyptic Cosmetics. And that is on Instagram, Facebook. It is also on Twitter, but it's too long, so I won't even give you that one, but you can find it through there. And as well as I have my own website, so apocalypticcosmetics.com.
Amazing. Well, I am definitely hoping that people come see you. I may have to book a consultation to figure out how I'm going to make myself look younger.
Please.
I don't need
stop it. We used to play with makeup back in the day together, and you were one of my favorite ever to like go in and like just play, because you would always let me do whatever.
Yeah, I don't care. I know. I love putting on makeup. I just love it. I love it. So
you're the one who taught me guy liner and how to like make it look perfect so you didn't look like you had it on. And I was like, this bitch has tricks. I'm like, yeah,
I taught that to Scott too.
See, I mean, you're a teacher, girl.
Well, darling, thank you very much.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. And